So good afternoon to all of you. I am Professor Ravi Shankar from IIT Delhi, and it's my pleasant duty to invite the other members in this panel. And if I take the name, Ms. Subhi Sethi. Yeah, she is with me from Vice President, Global Quality Leader, Genpact Limited. She is with me. Ms. Subhi is the Global Quality Leader and is a certified black belt and is responsible for providing strategic direction to ensure quality DNA globally. She is working closely with the business verticals, the re-engineering to drive business impact for customers. With over 15 years of experience across quality, information technology, transitions and operations, she has held positions of the global digitization leader. Along with that, she also led IT for SEP SESM. She will explain it, what it stands for. Now, the second panel member is Nina Kaul. She is Head CIS and Employee Engagement, Goodyear India Limited. She is with me here. She heads CIS and Employee Engagement, handling device responsibilities, lends her for business perspective and maturity to lead the current profile of quality and business excellence with ease. She is a black belt and has been awarded Certificate of Excellence from the Global Leadership Development from Goodyear University. Her leadership unveils a success story with CIS chapter since 2007, from deployment to developing teams both in manufacturing and non-manufacturing. Besides this, she is responsible for enhancing overall resource capability, training and development in her organization. The third panel member is Pratyay Chakravarti. He is the Vice President R&D, Jyoti Laboratories Limited. He heads manufacturing and R&D, and having 20 long years of specialization in manufacturing management and R&D with exposure to chemicals, food and home care products. Prior to joining his current organization, he worked with Unilever India in regional level, leading teams across Asia. Another panel member is Nitin Banker. Is he here? Nitin? So welcome to this panel. He is the Global BPI Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, Merckx India Limited. He is a certified Master Black Belt working with the global business process improvement, Master Black Belt Finance and Accounting verticals. He is managing the process improvement and strategic improvement projects across different centers. He has got an overall 13 plus years of experience in Six Sigma and lean process improvement methodology, and has worked with various brands like IBM, Thomson Reuters, Infosys BPO, Spark, and many Enpro Industries. The next panel member is Mr. Santosh Kumar Pandey. Is he here? He would be coming. You are Santosh, okay. He is the business analyst advisor and lead global fulfillment and logistics business analytics, Dell Global Analytics. He is a Six Sigma professional with more than 10 years of experience in quality improvement and driving process improvement initiatives. He has supported Dell in multiple value stream in the past 7 years, ranging from services, customer support to supply chain, operation, and currently the logistics and fulfillment business globally. Very important profile. And as you must have seen the profile of the speakers in this session, is very diversified, yet all of them have focused on business excellence especially, and they have a good exposure of the quality management, especially the Six Sigma and the Lean Six Sigma approaches. So with this small introduction of the panel member, let me tell you very briefly about myself. I am a professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, in the Department of Management Studies since last about 15 years. And I deal with these subjects like Six Sigma, project management, supply chain and logistics management, and technology management, and also the business analytics are the areas where I work, I teach, consult to the industry, and also do research in this area. I also conduct a lot of training programs in the green belt and black belt, and my job is to train people who can be some use to the society and industry in general. So basically, with this background of this panel, let me just quickly introduce the area in which we will be deliberating. Of course, the session will be open for many topics because we are towards the end of this day. And our job is to, as the topic given to us is Lean Six Sigma on the organization's growth trajectory and possibly how to sustain all these things in the Lean Six Sigma ways. So these are some of the things that we have to discuss. Of course, we are open to any other topic also. Depends upon how our speakers would really like to take up their issues. Interestingly, when we talk of Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma, we are really focusing on the world-class practices, the excellence approach. Now, what comes to my mind is very simple. Though we talk of the Six Sigma, where we talk of the defects less than 3.4, defects per million, opportunity lesser than that, but there are many myths around this. One of the myths that possibly one can think, and I was just listening to some of the questions that was being posed in the previous session. Basically, this Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma is a goal that we are looking at. This is a journey. We have to move towards this, and there is nothing like an absolute Six Sigma, Seven Sigma, or Eight Sigma, or whatever is this. We have to move towards that, and as long as we are taking right steps to reach towards the Six Sigma goal, we are on the right path as far as the organizational objectives are concerned. No organization in the world, in my limited understanding, has achieved Six Sigma in all the key areas. Somebody says that Mumbai Dabbawala is a Six Sigma. There is a lot of talk in the Forbes magazine and others. But if you look at it, what are the CTQs, critical to the quality, as far as customer is concerned? If on those CTQs, if the defects are lesser than one that we specify, possibly we call it Six Sigma. But there are many, many other things which are not the top CTQs, and if we have not achieved the right quality level, possibly we have to do something to move towards that. So Motorola, GE, and every other company for that matter, whatever you say that it's a Six Sigma company, but is it really true that in all the dimensions of the business, they are the Six Sigma? Now that's a question mark. So therefore, the takeaway, maybe first discussion takeaway, and my point that I would like to throw to my panel members is that Six Sigma, we look at in a very narrow manner. Can we expand the horizon? And every day we can find new opportunities of entering into where we can do something different, we can improve the quality level. And the journey never ends. This journey is a very continuous one. This is one point. Second point that comes to mind is more focused towards the theme of this session. Now, when we say that we have such a high standard of the quality goals, now it's basically the excellence, best excellence that we want to achieve. Now, a very interesting analogy that comes to my mind when I enter in this room is this, that reaching to the top, reaching to this high standard or goal is just very similar to climbing a steep mountain. And whatever we need to do to reach to the summit of the steep mountain, now we really need to do it here also. For example, we need to be very good as far as stamina is concerned. What is the stamina here as far as Lean Sigma is concerned? Stamina is learning of the tools and techniques of this, and a lot of training is involved, how to reduce the waste, and maybe the statistical tools, and all those things need to be really understood well in the organization. And also, when somebody wants to go to the top of a mountain, it's very difficult that one starts and moves alone. Generally, the team they go in a team. So therefore, Six Sigma is not an individual goal. You recall somebody climbed this Mount Everest. They went through. They formed a team and then they moved ahead. Similar things we have to do it here also. And also, in this journey, we have to do a lot of coordination. We have to be sustained, and we really need to have the support of the entire organization. So this is one thing. So what are basically the issues which are important in terms of sustaining this initiative? Now possibly our panel member will discuss. Starting the journey is not enough. You may not have heard of any name that somebody thought of reaching to the Mount Everest and he or she couldn't complete. People do not know about them. Somebody who has really reached to the top are better known to the world. Six Sigma is very similar to that. You start a journey and don't pursue it well, or collapse in between, or climb down, now people will forget. But if you really you maintain the journey, now basically those people would be remembered for times to come and those companies would survive. And last point from my side. When we talk of the Lean Six Sigma, Lean again, it has been deliberated well in this gathering. We want to reduce the waste. Maybe if possible, one of the waste could be inventory and anything like that. Now, if you look at some of us sitting here who are not that lean. Now, if I want to become lean, what need to be done? I am not lean. So if I want to become lean, should I chop off my inventory and throw it away? If I really do that, what will happen? The problem will get magnified. Rather than becoming lean, I can get bedridden. And possibly, the basic objective of becoming lean will get defeated. So again, the takeaway, and possibly if people can deliberate on that, nice. That if you really want to move towards the journey, that is the theme of this seminar, what really need to be done, that what are the indirect ways to achieve this goal. Please appreciate one point. I am very serious. This point I really want to throw to this audience in a very serious manner. And possibly that's a mistake that most of the organization often do. If you really attack the wastes directly, now there are possibilities that bigger problem would emerge and your whole initiative can get defeated. The way if we attack a fat person, if you really want to do surgery, now it's not very easy to reduce the weight. So what are the possible reasons because of which these problems are there? Now one has to really attack on those things. Interestingly, Six Sigma is the very right approach, and where we try to look at the cause and effect and what are the contributing factors, we would like to take care of that. So some of these initial points, what I will like to do, that I will like to give the mic to Shubhi, who will be sharing her views on this in this topic.
Okay, good afternoon. Very energetic group this is, as I could see. Everybody's having their caffeine and cookies. Awesome time to talk about Lean Six Sigma on the boardroom, right? I guess a quick round of introduction. While Mr. Ravi did give us in the introduction, I'm Subhi Sethi. I lead quality for Genpact globally. I've been with them for about over 12 years. Prior to that, with 3 companies, started my journey with a manufacturing plant. I've been very passionate about continuous improvement and how we drive process excellence across the organizations in different verticals and stuff. And very recently, we just discussed with the panel members how Lean Six Sigma is driven across many other organizations, whether it's a boardroom agenda, whether it's not a boardroom agenda. How does it become a boardroom agenda? And it's, to my mind, very chicken and egg kind of a story. Once it's in the boardroom, it does get driven. How do you sustain it? Needs to have a strong enough agenda to kind of keep this refreshed and alive. Now, there are 2 important variables to the entire equation, right? It can become the agenda for the boardroom only and only when either it is focused towards growth or it is focused towards operations, And how do you do growth? When you kind of deliver value for customers, and it's a vicious cycle, to be honest. Yeah. And that's what the topic I'm going to talk to you about. I guess I have 15 minutes, so I'll make it short and crisp. Before we actually start, let me quickly talk about Genpact a little bit. For people who don't know, Genpact has over 60,000 employees, operations in 20 countries, and we serve out of 30 different languages. We pride ourselves in driving seamless delivery and singular service culture across the global network, which is enabled by our outstanding people practice. Our customers actually tell us our process mastery, our ability to combine a bottoms-up granular process-based approach with Lean Six Sigma is our differentiator and is core to who we are. A quick history about Genpact. It was a captive which was started by General Electric. Doesn't need any introduction. Was the pioneer of Lean Six Sigma. We got this as a legacy from our grandparents. We were set up in 1996-97. We ran with GE as a captive unit till about 2004 December. And 2004 December is when we were spun off and became an independent organization. It's called Genpact. We do business process management for various verticals, industries, services across many, many different horizontals. Lean Six Sigma is the second bullet, and I'll not talk about the first bullet. It's a second bullet on the first chart of our corporate decks. Okay. And hence, we are indispensable. They can't do away with it. Purely because the amount of value and the delivery which has happened year on year is stupendous. And it's worth talking about. So, 17 years of rich history of practicing Lean Six Sigma in a very service environment, in a very B2B environment. What are our clients telling us? And I'm sure if we do a quick raise of hands across various other verticals and various other industry, the list won't change dramatically. Yeah? I guess what gets discussed in the boardroom is change the way we run. Make our cost variable. Increase my share of wallet. We talked about toothbrushes and different market segments and share of wallets. Simplify and standardize. Now I have data. Now data has to be cleaned and made some sense. Help me design my organization for future. A quick raise of hands in the group while you're having your teas and coffees. Anybody who hasn't heard of this? Anybody who has been a part of a boardroom agenda and hasn't heard this? I'll be really surprised. So how do we drive impact for our clients? How do we kind of map this up? And just 30 seconds before I go, on the right hand side what you see are some of the measures which this group will be definitely very familiar with. Cost per transactions, cost to serve, how to speed up revenue, cycle time, regulatory compliance, cash flows, straight through processing. These are all measures of what we want to drive. So how at Genpact do we drive the impact to our clients across various industries and verticals? The velocity and the quantum and certainty of change is more defining in the new age of business. How companies embrace these new dimensions of change will determine their future And that is what our clients are asking for. Our clients are looking for partners to help migrate their businesses to more variable cost structures, jointly develop innovative solutions, and help balance the challenge of lower growth in developed economies while simultaneously helping them capture higher growth in emerging markets, all in the context of driving a comprehensive agenda of transformation. There are many words which I just said, and I'm sure, would have lost a few of you in the process. But what it's saying is, help me grow in the emerging markets. Help me drive my growth. Make sure my cost structure is very variable. Make sure you understand the needs of my customers really well. Yeah. And the combination of increasingly a challenge for society across the verticals. This is our GE DNA. The way to read this chart is from the blue to the green. Lean Six Sigma is where we all begin from. Genpact is probably the first BPM organization. I won't be surprised, the first organization across to categorize Lean Six Sigma as R&D spent rather than a G&A cost. And I'll qualify for people who don't understand that. We just recently had our Investors Day, and one of our investors very interestingly asked us as to, Mr. Tyagarajan, what is your R&D spend? How do you kind of innovate? How do you kind of define where do you spend most of your energies on? And how do you map the R&D spend growing so that investors, when look at a company and suggest to buy or sell the stock price of that company, they look at the PE values. I'm sure you all understand that. They also look at, our company investing their money in the right pockets? And R&D is typically considered as a right pocket. So hence, we at Genpact has classified Lean Six Sigma as a research and development function for the company. And we run this as a very cost neutral company. So it's not a G&A cost line item on the left-hand side of the balance sheet. It's actually the R&D investment spend, which is on the right-hand side of the balance sheet, which makes the equation very important and hence gives us a seat in the boardroom. Yeah. Just a quick illustration of Lean Six Sigma drives value to Genpact and its client. There are three graphs on this chart. One in the blue, one in the red, and one in the grey and the yellow, with no logic of colors howsoever, just to brighten your afternoons. But the blue chart tells you how Genpact revenue has grown year on year. Okay, from 1.25 billion, and I've just taken a 3-year map from a 1.25 billion to about a 1.9 billion. The chart in the red tells us how our business impact has grown over year on year. And business impact is a number we measure across the organization on whether we are creating value for our customers or not. So for an example, if we process an accounts payable and if we process an invoice on time, is my working capital behaving in a way, do I have more cash in my balance sheet? Yeah, that's how the business impact number is measured and signed off by customers. The reason why 2011 number is low, because we made 4 acquisitions and hence a dip. And the chart in the circles is the net promoter score. So as you can see, I want to triangulate these 3 metrics, and it'll be important triangulation to do for people who can understand statistics by the back of their hands, right? The revenue has grown, so has the business impact, so has the net promoter score. So does it mean there is a direct correlation of Lean Six Sigma to drive growth? To my mind, the answer is yes. To my mind, the answer is high time. Yeah. Our key measure for all leaders, and I know Mr. Narayanan mentioned a while back in his panel, not sure a lot of organizations have designed their HR policies to drive a continuous improvement culture. And I guess we are one of the very few successful organizations to be able to do that. With that, I want to quickly give you an illustration of a customer in a pharma vertical. And it's a very simple illustration for people to understand. It's how we drove down cost and drove productivity, and how did our revenues, for that client grew up. In 2006, which was the first year of us doing work which was non-GE. Okay, this was our first pharma client, and which is why I picked this up. We do accounts payable work for them. For people who don't understand accounts payable, there is a purchase order and there's an invoice. When you receive an invoice, you process an invoice basis a purchase order. There were about 63 people who were doing that work. Okay, year on year, I would be lying if I say strategically we thought about all this. No. But having said that, the moment we kind of transitioned that work, our Lean Six Sigma engine kicked in, and hence the 63 became in 6 years 35, which is actually half it, which is about 44% efficiency delivered. On that happy note, let me tell you how did the revenue grows. Okay, I would draw your attention in the middle block, which is like a staircase chart, from 2006 to about 2011. We should have put the 2002 number, but that's the 200 number. We were about 200 people worth of work getting from this pharma client. Today we have 800 people in Genpact serving this client. So actually, by giving half the productivity, our growth has gone up 5 times. There is a direct correlation, and there are lots of stuff strategically and non-strategically we've done. We kicked up Kaizen events, we identified waste, we ran programs like, if you come in today and your work does not, and a customer is not ready to pay for your work, don't do it. Figure out a way of doing innovative views. Disrupt, destroyyourbusiness.com completely. We'll figure out something more important for you to do. And that's a cultural shift. It's not about a framework. It's not about a methodology. It's all about how this is ingrained in the culture we have in our organization, which we has been practicing for last 15 odd years. Yeah. So hence, how do we drive deployments the Genpact way? This was a pharma client example which you saw. But what ties us up? This chart is about who we are, how we run this company. You will see this in every process, and I kid you not, in every person who works at Genpact. On day one, we tell them, if you're not in it, you're at the wrong place. Leave us. We don't want you. Yeah. The way to read this chart is from the bottoms up, please. The moment we get a client in the organization, the client first business objective is to actually stabilize. How to drive stabilization across? We have common minimum practices, alerts, defining the right metrics, very simple stuff. Okay, I'm sure you'll all believe in it. Whatever gets measured right, gets done, right? That's the bottom pyramid. The value which client gets is on the right hand side. These are typically based into the contracts, and client gets that as a part of the year-on-year productivity. Once we know a little bit of customer, and we talked about change appetite of our customers, we know how the client works, whether they want to change at a speed, whether they want to slow down, whether they're in it, they're not in it. We kick in our Lean and Green Belt engine. And then the Black Belt, and then the SEP. And for people who don't know, SEP, it's not SEP SM, it is Smart Enterprise Process Service Marked. It's a service marked by Genpact. It's like an ERP of Oracle or PeopleSoft or SAP. We've defined smart enterprise process to run the organizations. The commitment for continuous improvement. 3 right measures to my mind, and very simple, very comprehensible to this group. Measure right. Voice of customer. Always check with customer, recheck with customer, recheck with customer. Benchmark. Not only internal, but external. And I'll qualify that within and between, right? Inventory management is best learned from a manufacturing sector. Cycle time is best learned from a banking sector. Cost of service is again best learned from manufacturing sector. So why do a pharma client do not learn from on inventory management from a manufacturing sector? So we encourage that analogous and non-analogous process improvement behavior. Some drivers, so till now we talked about what. Now I'm going to quickly 2 pages talk about how. Visual management. Our book cover is roll up your sleeves, go on the floor, put a red or a green by your hand, and then you will feel the process. Once you feel the process, the customer will start feeling the impact of Lean Six Sigma. Lean. Waste is something very simple. Again, it's very subjective, very individualistic. What might be waste to you might be of really value to me. Value stream mapping, think end to end, and an end to an end, differs for various people and various customer processes. And this all add up drives a continuous improvement culture. Couple of building blocks: design the quality organization or a Lean Six Sigma organization for success. Make sure their goals are aligned in such a fashion that they link to customer priorities. Have visibility, give transparency to customers, and draw governance structures through business quality councils with the customers and internal. I'll quickly skip this chart because this is more like something which we talked about. But a last summary slide, quick takeaways from our journey. Customers have to feel the impact of Lean Six Sigma. While I'm a statistician, while I'm a Lean Six Sigma leader, I still believe in lead indicators. Are you referencing me as Lean Six Sigma expert? Are you not? Are you feeling the impact of it? Are you not? They have to. It's not about statistics. It's not about Six Sigma proficiency. It's not about DFSS. It's not about DMAC. Proficiency that matters, but the ability to use to solve a problem on a daily basis. Destroying revenue gets you more revenue. We believe in it. You all must do that. We encourage people to use continuous improvement to drive cost out for our clients. This kills our revenue, right? The 63 people work went to 35. We were only getting paid for 35 for a while. But when that 35 became 200 and when that 200 became 800, we didn't even realize that. Time flew by. Deployment is not one size fit all. What worked for that pharma client may not have worked for a manufacturing, may not work for a banking, may not work for an insurance client. So it needs a lot of contextualization. And how will you contextualize? A very simple management term: listen. Listen to your customers. Don't hear, listen. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is my favorite line. We talked about a lot from an operational focused agenda to a strategic agenda. Actually, if you don't have culture, neither is strategy of importance nor of operations. They actually eat themselves for breakfast. It has to be a part of the organization DNA. To my view, it can begin from the top. Jack Welch drove maniacally this from the top, and hence. But after Jack Welch, we've had 20 years. After Jack Welch, we've had 20 years. We've been able to sustain it. Jeff Immelt hasn't driven it from the top. But does it still exist? The answer is yes. The reason why it exists is because they have a large enough agenda to drive growth and to drive operational excellence. And hence, all of us as leaders walk the talk on the same. With that, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Subi. Now, I would invite Nina to share her views.
Stop the movie. Copy volume.
Has to run faster than the fastest lion to survive. A lion also awakens to the same sunrise, determined to outrun the slowest gazelle, or it will starve to death. It doesn't matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you'd better be running.
Familiar with this video clipping? As Lean Six Sigma professionals, we got introduced to this concept of speed. Let's look at it in today's business perspective. We are living in a world of accelerated change. No, I need the lights now, yes? Sorry about this interruption. And how do I get out of this? Because it's not...
Your presentation?
Yeah, I need my presentation. One second, sorry. We are living in a world of accelerated change, where uncertainties and challenges surround us. Things keep changing and transforming so rapidly that we have to be adequately prepared to face these contingencies and organizations to become competitively advantaged. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This short clip was, apart from killing the post-lunch monotony, also sets the tone for the topic on which I'm going to speak about, which is growing by building customer-centric organizations with Lean Six Sigma. This topic can be debated and discussed for hours, but given the paucity of time, let's learn the natural way, which is by assimilating. Let's begin by defining LSS, and the technical definition of LSS also talks about some keywords, and those are people, processes, customers, and profitability. In simple words, we are talking about driving operational excellence. In more simpler words, let's just define the right product at the right time, at the right place, with the least cost. Before I move on to the how element, let's have a brief illustration of understanding the customer. From what the customer asks for and what the customer is eventually delivered, there is generally a gap, and for which it is important that we need to articulate the true need of the customer, and that's where the story begins. Customers also have expectations, and we have been talking about a few since morning. Some of the needs of these customers are stated needs where the organizations today are trying to deliver value. We've talked about cost, we've talked about quality, we've talked about on-time delivery and customer service, for which the need is for us to select the right matrix, the right combination of tools, the right methodologies, be it Lean or Six Sigma, to change this value proposition from a customer satisfaction to customer delight. Let's have a look at growth of the organizations. And this is typically what I would want to sell this thought to you with. What is the defined, or is there a defined success measure for growth for organizations? Perhaps not. What I feel is that organizations' process excellence or the process classification framework is what defines and gives the stability and a strong foundation for the organizations to grow. And that is driving operational excellence or business excellence, or a combination of both. We are talking about process. Operational excellence helps create standard processes. And what is a process? Again, definition-wise, a series of activities that is definable, predictable, and repeatable. We are trying to create uniformity, stability around processes. The two pillars under which these can be classified are the back-end operations, which is typically from creating a service or manufacturing a product to distribution and logistics with supply chain, and the front-end operations of a business, which would be from anything to do with sales, marketing, and customer service, creating a brand halo, supported equally by the support functions of HR, finance, quality, engineering, etc. Given that an organization has this solid framework and foundation of process excellence, it automatically converges into creating customer-centric organizations. Let's review it in the forthcoming slides about how this unfolds. The operations theory. The lean fundamental, the fundamentals of lean, the production system, actually give enough potentials for organizations today to improve their cost, to improve the control, to boost efficiency by minimizing waste in the process, or by improving the throughput, the yield, the productivity, thereby lending a process uniformity and stability, and then, of course, catering to safety, quality measures, etc. How we've done is nothing different than what most of the organizations are doing, is by looking at the source of truth, which is value stream mapping. An excellent tool that is provided with this methodology, which enables you to outline the non-value added and value added and identify the bottlenecks in the system, thereby creating an opportunity to create projects which could be lean or Six Sigma or capital or innovation or creativity or a combination of these few. Rigorous reviews, monitoring systems coupled with these can help you improve on your productivity. And of course, prioritization, which is a must to be selective about what actually fits into the boardroom and what's the requirement of the business. Looking at the supply chain side now, the demand. So now that we have created a product or a service, the next that comes in the back-end operations is how do I deliver this to the customer? And supply chain management, deployment is key. This is, again, a derivative of a strategy that defines the processes like procurement, production, transportation, logistics, warehousing, ordering, forecasting, everything which is happening in an uninterrupted flow of a process. Once again, catering to the requirements helps you deploy the supply chain planning strategy into the target market segments. In our organization, we started on this journey almost 10 years back, and in the last few years, we have actually been driven from a cost-only model to now creating emphasis on the process framework. Under supply chain, we have been working very rigorously for the past couple of years in creating value, in stabilizing our processes under these various heads. This is a very generic presentation today. I'm not sharing any particular case studies, but yes, you're most welcome to come over and approach us for any particular project information. So we've actually been trying to create information, value addition and a proposition on a couple of these areas, process capability being the latest one. And I'm pleased to share that we have been accredited with Class A S&OP for both our PBUs. And that talks about the solid foundation, again, of process framework. Coming up to the front end of the business. How do organizations grow? What is an organization or a business eventually looking at? The key distinct outcomes are profitability, top-line growth, all values, numbers, dollars. We can measure them as a percentage to the EBIT. We can measure them as net sales. We can measure them as incremental volume. We can measure them as share of market, any particular key indicator. Assuming that this is one such indicator, trend that we are trying to highlight, the peaks and valleys as depicted in this data tell you a story. If you're not able to decipher that story to make adequate decisions to support the business need, then there is something which is drastically wrong. The situation that unfolds could be because of multiple factors. It could be the product quality issues, it could be the liquidity crunch, economic factors, pricing issues, anything for that matter. What you need is a good analytical tool to be able to decipher, uncode this, and be able to come up with the root cause analysis to help sustain and create efficiency in the process. Every business needs to balance its cost and revenue model. LSS and innovation help you do that. A few areas where we have dealt in order to support the business and align or create that integrated strategy management with the business objectives is by looking at the front end of the business. For example, new product portfolio enhancement with innovation, catering to the niche or the broad market segments is all customer oriented. You are trying to create a strategy deployment. Looking at the white spaces is yet another example which helps you all with real-time data. Business process improvement is today touted as one of the biggest competitive differentiators. And that's exactly what we are trying to set the trend for ourselves to be able to make that first move and outrun competition. Looking at pricing, for that matter, or even looking at Six Sigma as a tool to analyze the problematic areas where our customer satisfaction index show not as much as an improvement. A simple analysis with fishbone or force field analysis helps you look through the problems. You do not really have to go and do a DOE in most of these specific areas. Looking at, and eventually improving the cost model, and also eventually moving on to enable investments in the future because you're trying to predict a model that's going to be helpful for you. I do not have a fancy futuristic presentation as shared by Kudbhushan, which was pretty impressive. But then, yes, eventually we want to go that step. Today we are at a stage, since the last 10 years, been trying to improve upon the profitability or in terms of adding value back to the business. So in numbers, yes, 3 to 4% is what the productivity is, but eventually we really need to be positioned for that journey mile ahead. In summary, growing with LSS is possible, yes. All that you need is to be able to innovate, strategy deployment, product profitability, with new products, operational excellence, and of course investments. Evolve, deploy, and create an outcome that is successful and sustainable for the business. Eventually, be profitable through any economic cycle. With this note, I'd like to end on this very positive comment by Jack Grayson, who's the founder and the executive chairman of APQC, that productivity and quality management is a race without a finish line. Your organization's future totally depends on how well you evolve and how well you quickly adapt and improve. Thank you.
So thank you, Neena ji. And now it's the turn of Pratyay. He is the vice president at Jyoti Laboratory.
Okay. Good afternoon. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Okay, good. So thanks to those of you who stayed back. I see lots of empty chairs. Yeah? Anyway. Okay. So my presentation is going to be very different from what you've seen throughout the day. And I'm going to talk about how you extend Lean Six Sigma principles to the ecosystem. Yeah? Now, as we've seen, and most of you are practitioners of Lean Six Sigma, it seems to be very difficult to implement within your own organization. Yeah? Getting buyers, getting your senior stakeholders involved and getting buy-in seems to be difficult. Yeah? Now just imagine how difficult it might be when you're looking at extending it outside. Now when I initially thought of this talk, I had in mind something very similar to what Rupesh was talking about today morning, which was about partners to win. Yeah, which was about how we partner with external people who are suppliers, yeah, and use that to develop an ecosystem which nourishes both, yeah, both us as an organization as well as building the businesses. However, I was asked to give an example of something more concrete, yeah, and I'll be taking you through an example of a problem which we have been working through. The reason I'm saying working through is because we are halfway there, yeah, and still some work to go. But it's an interesting example, and I just want to show you that. This is a product most of you would be familiar with. This is, the brand might not be always very familiar. It's a brand called Maxo. It comes from the Jyoti Laboratories family, yeah, and it's a liquid vaporizer. Now, a liquid vaporizer has two components. Yeah, it's got a heater and it's got a refill. And in terms of how it works, it's very similar to Gillette razors. Yeah, so you sell a device cheap and you sell the refill for a profit. Yeah. Now, there are basic refills and there are a whole lot of machines. What you would ideally like to do is to have your refill working on all machines. You don't know what the consumer is going to buy. Yeah, so you better work on everything. Economy is key because this industry has transitioned from using mosquito coils to vaporizers. Pretty much an analogy like if you use bars at home to liquids, yeah, there is a mindset change when you go into something more premium, and therefore you want an assurance on value, and therefore you'll probably see on pack something written in terms of 45 nights, 30 nights, 60 nights, 90 nights, so on and so forth, which gives an indication to the consumer how much economy is important. This is to just give you a context to some of the stuff I'm going to tell you later. Yeah, this is where we are currently. The industry is gradually moving towards more premium formats. Yes, we heard about mechanized toothbrushes, not as fancy, yeah, but yeah, somewhere, yeah. Okay, next. Supply chain, very simple. So we are right there at the right-hand end. So there is a third-party manufacturer who assembles components. Yeah, there are some 15 components, and he gives it to us. Yeah. There is a level of quality check at the third-party assembly level, and there is a quality check when we receive the devices. Simple, yeah? How it works, we pay our third-party manufacturer in 30 days, he or she pays them in 45 days. So essentially, the third-party manufacturer doesn't have his working capital blocked, yeah? Essentially, they're doing business on our money, which is great, it doesn't matter. We haven't built it into their cost, okay? Life is good, okay. Now we have the problem. The problem is the way we have specified these devices and the way we have made the refills. Ideally, they should be operating at a 130 to 140 range. Yeah, each manufacturer has a slightly different refill, which is why you have a range of temperatures, and the base is kerosene, so you can't get an exact boiling point or a vaporization temperature. So you have a range which is roughly 130 to 140. Yeah. Now we had a problem of complaint, and people complained that the Maxo device wasn't working as well, or the refill wasn't as good. And we went back and we found that in one of our manufacturers of ceramic, yeah, and we'll come to that later, we had a temperature range of 125 to 135, yeah, whereas our operating temperature should have been 130 to 140. So there is an element of, sorry, so I'm still trying to get a hang of. Where is the pointer?
It's the right guy, it's the green one.
The green one, okay, right. Okay. So this is where, so if you're lucky to get a device like this, you'll be happy, but you might equally get something like this, yeah, which is where the problem is. Now if you look at the internals of the device, this is what it looks like. So you've got this ceramic here, which is what our discussion topic is. You've got two terminals here, metal terminals, and in between this, it's difficult to spot, but there is a resistor here. Okay? Essentially, current flows in, generates temperature, yeah, and you see that, oops, and you see this thing in between. It's a cylinder, and there is this wick which goes in, and therefore it heats and it vaporizes. So that's the way this thing works, yeah. Okay. The problem happened when we identified this. We had the supplier supplying us, yeah, the ceramic disc supplier supplying us in lots of 1 lakh pieces, yeah, and in 1 lakh pieces, you actually semi-assemble the device and then you check the temperature, yeah. Okay. So you semi-assemble the device and then you check the temperature, and that's done for 100% of the devices, yeah, and there you find 15 to 20% rejections. And with that kind of rejections, obviously, yeah, it was difficult. The problem is the supplier of ceramic wouldn't accept that the problem was only at his end, yeah. So we had this issue where this assembler was sitting on 1 month's stock of other components, yeah. We were not paying them because they're not given us devices. They actually had their working capital blocked, yeah, and we had a situation where we didn't get devices, and mosquitoes don't wait, yeah. This is a business which works on a 3-month window. 50% of the sales happens in 3 months in that transition between summer and this thing, and probably a couple of months later in the year. So in 4 months, you basically sell most of your devices. So if you don't sell it, and if you're the third person in the market, you're in trouble, yeah. So that is where we started from. Now, this was actually a case where we were not only dealing with our supplier, it was a supplier's supplier, yeah. In any case, what we did was we actually went in there and we tried to apply the principles of Lean and Six Sigma to try and understand and debottleneck the problem, yeah. This is broadly what a ceramic manufacturing looks like. It's a very traditional process, yeah. So those of you who are familiar with a ball mill, you basically put in quartz, feldspar, loads of clay. It's a very solid, lumpy material, yeah. Put about 50% water, pass it through a ball mill, goes through a filtration, 2 steps of drying, pulverizing, sieving, molding, online firing. It takes about 7 to 8 days, end to end, yeah, to get the product. At the end of the day, as I said, you get 1 lakh pieces, you're not sure whether you want them or not, yeah. Okay. So what were the options that we had? So one option was, given that the supplier had already told us this was the best he could do and not much better, and the fact that we had to deliver this product very critically to the market, we could do a few things. Yeah, we could have worked on the refill composition, made it slightly low boiling, and therefore ensured that with the ceramic we were getting, we would still give a product which was acceptable. Not a great solution, yeah, because there would be other products which would be at a higher boiling point and our devices wouldn't work. Those of you who use air fresheners in cars, you would see that there's a wick, very different actually, but it's a wick all the same, higher porosity. If you go for a higher porosity, you'll basically evaporate more liquid. Problem is, you promise 60 nights, it gets over in 30. Yeah, not great for the brand. You could increase the resistor rating. I talked about a resistor. Yeah, very difficult to make minor changes. Yeah, 125 to 130, very difficult to make. Yeah, you want a step change, 125 to 140, I'll give it to you. The last option was to actually go back and increase the thickness of this L terminal. This is what we found was the best thing that we could do. The problem is this is such a tight fit that 15-20% gets rejected if you have a thicker terminal in trying to assemble it. Higher wastages, higher conversion cost. Yeah. But life had to go on. Okay. So what did we do? The first thing we did is to look at the current process of manufacturing ceramics and try to assess fitness for purpose. Yeah. We said, do we really require such an elaborate process for manufacturing ceramic discs for insecticide repellency? Yeah? And the most significant breakthrough we had was to develop a dry blending process. Yeah? With 3 steps, yeah, and 1 step of firing, we brought down the process from 7 to 8 days to 1 to 2 days. Yeah? The batch cycle time came down significantly from 1 lakh to 25,000. Yeah, but the most significant breakthrough was really moving from a wet process to a dry process. So this was the good news. What was the bad news? Along with that, so once we got to a level where we could actually manufacture the disc of the right specification, we focused on getting our accuracies right. Yeah? And we found that we had to make some changes in the blend, for example, we increased the alumina content. Yeah, we had to change the curing temperature. It had to go up from 1000. The band was 1000 to 1300. We had to make it shorter and make it 1260 to 1300. Yeah, so that we were firing at a particular temperature. We had increased the cycle time, but most importantly, we actually ended up. So this is a three shelf dryer. Yeah, we actually ended up using only the top shelf. So we solved one problem, but we still created another. So we got a great product. It is consistent. Yeah, but we ended up in a situation where we have derated our capacity of the dryer by 67%. Yeah, at this point of time, we can still manage, but the next thing that we're going to do is go back and tackle this issue. Yeah. So as somebody said in the morning, this is people have been reiterating throughout, is that this is not a one-step process. You keep improving. Yeah. So we applied the Lean Six Sigma principles. We solved the issue of quality. We have a problem of capacity. We go back and now solve this problem. Yeah. That's it. One of the advantages of this, and this is something which some of the earlier panel discussions covered, and there were different views in terms of whether Lean Six Sigma is about cost cutting, yeah, and whether we should be focusing more on innovation. My personal view is that it's not one or the other. Yeah. The value of this exercise basically means that once we've completed it, yeah, our ability to develop ceramics for a much narrower temperature range becomes much better. Yeah, and that will thereafter help in making devices which will only work with Maxo refills for a premium product. Yeah, that's how this particular exercise will then lead into our future innovations. That's it. Thank you.
Now I take this opportunity to invite Nitin.
Okay, good evening everyone. I'm not sure we covered my introduction, but let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Nitin Banka, working for Maersk Global Shared Service Center. I'm working as a master black belt for the Global Business Process Improvement team. Yeah. So coming back to the topic, let me start with the great quote from Albert Einstein. You can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used while creating them. Yeah. This really hints me in terms of that we require a system which will help me think differently to solve my business problems. Yeah. Now, if I have to do that, I know Lean, I know Six Sigma, I know Lean Six Sigma is going to help me change that or develop that thinking. Okay. We also talk about Lean Six Sigma as a cultural change. Okay. So let's understand how this culture really evolves. Here are some of the quotes from some great management gurus. Yeah, I'll just kind of summarize a few of those. Employees perceive the organization culture based on their leaders' action and behaviors. Employees pay more attention to the values in use and not to the values which are imposed. What is this really telling me? The biggest factor for bringing the cultural change is the leader. Yeah, the employees are going to follow the leader. So now, when I know my cultural change agent is the leader of my organization, what traits that leader should have it? So I've just summarized a few of the good and not so good traits. Don't read it. I'll quickly read out that for you. Some of the not so good traits are hiding mistakes, little or no communications, solving problems in isolations, create fear in employees, work in silos, and the list goes on. The good traits of the leader are share their learnings, proactive communication, cooperative and symbiotic approach for problem solving, empower and coach employees for continuous improvement, include customers, process, suppliers, all the relevant stakeholders in the decision-making processes, and use PDCAs as a general way of learning. Now, are the leaders born with these traits? Not everyone. So can I have a system which will help me develop these traits in the leadership? Now let's take an example for this one. All will have to participate in this. If it's readable, well and good, or else I'll read it for you. Think of any number between 1 and 10. Multiply it by 9. If it's a 2-digit number, add both the digits. Now subtract 5 from it. Done with me? Now determine which letter in the alphabet corresponds to that number. If it's a 1, it should be A. If it's 2, it should be B, and so on and so forth. Okay? Now think of a country which starts with that letter. Remember the last letter of the name of that country. Think of the name of an animal that starts with that last letter. With me? Remember the last letter in the name of that animal? Think of the name of a fruit that starts with that letter. Okay? Everyone? Done? Did you all thought of the kangaroo in Myanmar eating an orange? How many of you guys really thought this? Yeah? Now just give a thought. With so much of a diverse crowd we have it, we were still able to figure out or achieve the same objective. Yeah? So it's not difficult for me to build a system which can help me align the diverse thought process with my leaders. Okay? Yeah. So there's a framework which we use in Maersk case. It's known as OPPR, expanded it to operational performance, with a little pause, planning and review. So it's read as operational performance, planning and review. Okay? A common name of this is also your operational management. It's not a new concept. We have learned this in our management studies. A lot of mention about operational management over there. Now what is this OPPR really? It's a structured way which helps me to plan things to achieve the process performance goals. Yeah? It's a structured way of reviewing the process to build continuous improvement in the process. Yeah? The elements of OPPR are designed in such a way that they help create practices which are going to enable become a systemic leader. Yeah? That's the objective of this entire framework, to create systemic leadership in the organization. This is the overall view of the framework. In any of the organizations, the management can be kindly divided into business management and operations management. Business management primarily deals with your policies and strategies, wherein operations management deals with your daily management of the process, yeah, with the help of VMS, read as Visual Management System, or with the help of Gemba. Yeah. It also deals with continuous improvement, which is through our Lean Six Sigma projects and through Kaizens. Now the base of this framework is something called as standard work. We'll talk more about this in the coming slides. I'll just touch upon each of these elements, giving a high level view. EVMS, the VMS we have changed it to EVMS because it's an electronic visual management system. We have gone away with the physical boards and everything. It's an electronic version what we have. It's a way which helps us to make the performance visible and transparent to your teams. Yeah, it helps us to build a consistent understanding of the process performance. Yeah, that's how this VMS is important. It also helps to get a shared view on the KPI progress and the improvement actions. It enables shared responsibility, knowledge, and workload to utilize the resources to the optimum. Gembas, as we all know, literal meaning of that is visiting a workplace where the real value is created. It enables us to generate new ideas. It enables us to go on the floor, see the process with your own eyes, understand the process in detail. Yeah? It's also an opportunity for the leaders to kind of interact with the employees and cast their shadow. The way they expect the employees to behave, that's an opportunity for them to cast their shadow on the employees. And also definitely coach the employees on that. Now, standard work, we talked about, it attributes to the management mindset which expects everything to be standard. Yeah? It ensures that the management standard activities are completed in a disciplined way. And it's very important because we try and build discipline at the lower hierarchy level, but we also need to have a lot of efforts to build discipline at the higher hierarchy as well. It's supposed to supports to maintain tiered accountability of the process so that management focuses only on the critical issues and does not get involved with the daily management of the process. That's a key advantage of having a standard work in the system. Continuous improvement, as we all are aware, it's a systematic and structured approach for bringing improvements in the process. The VMS and the Gemba, I'll skip this. This is our old concepts which we all are aware. I'll just spend some time on the standard work, just to get some more details about it. So the key principle of having a standard work is to document the activities of the leadership. Yeah, it's to really create a timetable for the leadership task and ensure they are executing those tasks in the most disciplined way. In Maersk, we have got this to the team leader level, and it's followed very religiously across the organization. It helps build a consistent and efficient way of managing the process across the leadership. As we all are aware, with the expansions, what we have, we get leaderships from different levels with different backgrounds and different experiences. Yeah? It's an opportunity to use their learnings, share the best practices, and ensure it's consistent across the hierarchy in the organization. As we go up the ladder in the hierarchies, the standard work reduces. If you imagine an employee on the ground level who is working on the process, his work would be quite monotonous. His work is very much standard. You can say 100% of his work is standard. But as you climb up the hierarchy, the standard work reduces. In a thumb rule way, the standard work for the senior leadership is just around 20% of the time. Now, the benefits of the standard works are it helps to perfectly repeat the critical management task. It maximizes quality while minimizing the efforts and the time required for it. Continuous improvement. Now the VMS, or the Visual Management System, as we said, it's an electronic version. It's an integrated VMS system. It's integrated horizontally as well as vertically in the organization. The key advantage what we have got is it helps us to bring the tiered accountability, which I just spoke about. It also helps us to bring a helps us to systematically manage the improvement areas, so not everyone and all of them are working on the same problem. As per the hierarchy and as per the problem or the quantification of the problem, different hierarchies get involved as the problem becomes bigger and bigger. Yeah? So it's bringing us a focused approach on solving the problems. It also helps in identifying issues and improvement ideas through Gemba walks, VOC, and self-assessments. We've kind of digitized, as I said, the entire VMS. It's linked up right from the team leader to the process manager to the senior leadership, right up to the CEO. Not only that, we have extended this to the customers as well. So the customers' dashboards get updated on a real-time data based on whatever the system is generating the data. It gets updated on a real-time basis. The information flow happens from downward to upward, and the decision-making happens from the upward to downward part of it. You can view this VMS in whichever way across departments. You can break this across the end-to-end process as well, and then view the performance. All the reviews in the organizations happens on the electronic visual management system. So this EVMS, this entire OPPR framework has helped us to really sustain the improvements which we are doing through the projects, either it's Lean or Six Sigma, and it's really helped us to get a more disciplined approach towards managing the performance of the process. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Nitin. Now I take this opportunity to invite Santosh, who is the Business Analysis Advisor at Dell Global Analytics.
Good evening, everybody. I know it's the last session of the day and would not like to keep you waiting here. Quickly would like to go ahead and share some things that we go ahead and do in Dell, and the things that we are going to, basically the topic that I'm going to cover is extending the Six Sigma to the ecosystem. Now when we talk about the ecosystem surrounding Dell, it would be all our partners. When I say partners in Dell terms, it's all the vendors and the suppliers. They in Dell terms are called partners. And it's basically how do we go ahead and not have that focus towards within the organization, but also go ahead and take it across it, because it does impact our performance. It does impact the customer satisfaction that we deliver, because everywhere the end customer, the end consumer who gets the product is from Dell. As a result, it's very important for any organization which is growing to go ahead and ensure that their ecosystem is in sync up with the organization. Now, as I'll take a couple of minutes for the people just to have a glance on the Dell strategy, because in the morning and in the afternoon I heard whether that becomes a priority of the organization. I would like to connect it from the priorities of the organization, then move on to the priorities of the supply chain section, and then going ahead and share one specific example where we have gone ahead and used the Lean Six Sigma working with the partners across the organization in order to ensure that the customer satisfaction to our end users are delivered and we have minimal defects when we work in synchronization, right? So that's the objective of it. Would not go through the details of it, would leave it but if you look at the slide number 2, it clearly says our approach, collaborative, standard-based, customer-focused. That is the area which I'm trying to connect out from here, which is because, as you know, as we move, when an organization is growing, as I mentioned, it has to go ahead and collaborate outside. We would have heard the concept that when an organization is shrinking, it's insourcing. When it's growth, it's outsourcing. So it's exactly when the organization grows, you need to work with various partners across the world. You need to go ahead and have various suppliers that you need to work, and all of them, they work for you or you work for them. Either way, the scenario, the organization that you're working. So one of the things that goes along with Dell is that we need to be collaborative, standard-based, and customer-focused. That's a priority coming out from top down. Now, I'm talking about an example from a logistics and a fulfillment business, which is a very integral part of the supply chain organization. And let's try to link it the supply chain role. So before I get into this, let's evaluate the complexity of the situation that we go ahead and face, right? Talking about Dell caters to 180 countries. When you talk about 180 countries, the logistics network the single logistics carrier cannot reach 180 countries. So imagine, but all of them carry Dell product. The customer gets a single product, which is Dell, and it just rates them. So it's very important as an organization to have them onboarded in your priorities, and they work Dell and the partner works together in synchronization, because the end customer which actually gets your product feels for Dell. And so it's you can say it's a vested interest for both the parties when we go ahead and have a synchronization, and I'll talk about the vested interest benefits that we see in any of them. The other performance metrics in terms of cost and the spendings of the organization, we do have 5 own Dell manufacturing, but apart from that, as we grew, as I mentioned earlier, we do have our third-party locations where we manufacture products. We go ahead and warehouses where we store the product, and it's globally across Americas, EMEA when I made Europe, Middle East, and across APJ. So when you look at the spread of the organization, it's very important, and when catering to 180 countries, that all our partners go ahead and work in synchronization. As a result, we need to have the Lean Six Sigma extended to them as what we are doing within the organization to seek an equal benefit. Right. This is the supply chain ocean. I was just morning I was listening to Deepak, and definitely some of the oceans of supply chain. Look at the top of it. It definitely has the customer on top of it. That's what builds the ocean, right? So if you see that I want the product service, this is all the customer pieces, and all the organizational priorities are the building blocks in that. And some of the key things, if you look at the partner network and how do we go ahead and ensure increasing leverage with the external partners, which is the fourth point on the left-hand side. So these are the key points. I'm just picking it out from here to connect that how Dell is working with its ecosystem and going ahead and ensuring that the product quality or the Six Sigma that it has within its culture is also leveraged to its partner for the mutual benefit of both the organization. Right? Getting into the specifics of one of the examples of quality that we will have a look on that, right? So, when on the left-hand side of the slide, you will see these are the three building blocks of the Dell transformation journey. On the right-hand side, these are the 5 best practices, 6 best practices that is pretty much available anywhere that everybody knows about it. These are the best practices of any partner management or a vendor management. So definitely that still remains here, and if you look at the detail, one of them which is there, that when measuring and tracking the cost of poor quality, cost of recovery, partner operations, partner performance scorecard, closed loop corrective action. This is where we will see an example of how we have gone ahead and used Lean Six Sigma to develop the CLCA process, which is common across Dell and the partners. Right? Engaging partners into the quality system. Right? So these are slides for FYI, but yeah, having some of the putting some of the best practices out from these 6 engagement areas, right? How do we go? The question comes as that what are some of the small steps that an organization takes to have the partners onboarded with their priorities? Just a simple ones could be some. Nobody asked that we need to definitely at the point of making an annual plans, because we need to work with them. They need to work with our priorities, or we need to, either one of them, depending on the industry which we are. From a Dell's perspective, they need to work in synchronization. As a result, having them included into the annual plans, target setting, very specific examples of target setting. A single, the measurement system that is evaluated at Dell is the measurement system at the partner location. It starts from the basic of even ensuring that the measurement system is the same, so that we can go ahead and have an apple-to-apple comparison done, right? So from a defect perspective, if I know, everybody knows that the cost of poor quality is a metric that everybody measures across the organization. So cost of poor quality as a percentage of revenue, whatever is the metric, right? Because if that's a factor. So that's the simplest first step that we go ahead and do. Then we talk about the process capability. Definitely at any point of time, the partners and Dell come in synchronization to go ahead and come to a common target based on the process capabilities. So we go ahead and definitely evaluate every value stream in our partners' network. And the partner shares that information with us, where we measure the capability of every network and say what is the potential target that we can expect to achieve out of this in terms of improvement. Right? So some of the examples. Definitely C point, which is partner performance. We would have the balancing approach, where we go ahead and we would not try to go ahead and penalize the partner for the defect which has not been done. And there are liability causes and the bad debts and all of these things. Everybody is aware of that. So those gets baked across sitting with them, discussing with them, and baking them into the contracts which are there. Measuring cost of quality, as I mentioned earlier, a single uniform metrics across the organization along with the partners, and everybody and the same metrics is evaluated at Dell, and the same metric gets evaluated at the partner location for Dell. So it's the synergies that both the organization goes and talks, right? Definitely sharing the voice of customer and the voice of process is very critical with our partners, because as Dell as an organization, or any organization everybody is working on, you will get your customer voice. It's very important that we share that information with our partners, because we have to trust them in sense that they are working with us. As a result, it's very critical that we share these information with our partners, have the voice of process, have the voice of customer shared with them, come up together, work, brainstorm, and come up with the ideas that we want to go ahead and and go ahead and do a process improvement initiatives, right? Talking about the CLCA process, which we will get into the detail of one specific example that we have replicated across. Now this is the slide that gives us this is the end solution that you see, right? There is a tremendous amount of work that has gone behind using the Lean Six Sigma, right? So on the left-hand side top chart, you see the output in which the 5C or the CLCA process works within the Dell and the partner networks, right? So a typical DMAIC approach, capture all the voice of customer that came from the previous surveys or through the contact center, capture all of them. What are they saying about my supply chain network? What are they saying about my delivery network? What are they saying? Go ahead and put it across in front of the partners that this is what we see and now this is what we need to go and fix. We go ahead and have our baselining done. We go ahead and do so many hypothesis testing. We do go ahead and evaluate all the critical X's that came into. So very interesting exercise went in this. Looking at the complexity, various, if I just pick up an example of logistics, right? We operate in ocean, we operate through road, we operate in rail, we operate in air. The 4 value stream I just gave, right? Now this 4 value stream can start from 21 different locations globally. Now these 21 different locations globally can be shipped to a customer with an overnight or a second business day or a third business day or a fourth business day. I'm just picking an example of a logistics dimension. If we go into fulfillment and manufacturing, we will have a much more. So if you look at the complexities of these value stream, right? Every value stream has their different set of nature. And this particular exercise was broken down by value stream to arrive at what are my CTQs at the various level. Now when these value streams were combined, now the question come as when the actions plan were made, how do we sustain it? How do we go ahead and ensure that it becomes a culture, right? And there is a likelihood that the process might deteriorate at a given time. We might do a process improvement project, it might deteriorate. But what do we do to go ahead and ensure that it is always in my radar? I don't miss it and I immediately go ahead and fix it. And that's the reason this 5C framework came into, and it runs with all the action items that came in. It has a various sub-small X's. So this looks as only 5C, but all these C has multiple X's that goes into, which goes ahead and classifies the characterize. So basically, if I talk about the characterize, what's the impact of this particular defect that comes into my value stream? And now there is a risk prioritization that happens. When I talk about the risk prioritization, it is by a value stream. Right, so it's an example of that is a dollar impact or a service level impact, or it could be a road impact, or it could be a zip code impact. So there are multiple dimensions that might get. All this becomes as a value stream, and the process gets evaluated at that value stream. Now, at any point of time when the defect goes outside the threshold limit, this is a sustained process I am talking about. Now, it goes out of control. Immediately, this solution kicks into place. And depending on the type of defect that is encountered, whether it's a systemic defect or it's an out of control situation, those are two, or it could be even just do it situation, that you don't need to do a DMAIC to fix all of them. We know the solution, what needs to be done, just go ahead and do it. If there is really a process variation that we see across, then we go ahead and charter out a plan combined with Dell and our partner to go ahead and run a process improvement initiative on that. Or if there's a DFS or something is really a new process coming in and we are observing this, so then we go ahead and charter a separate kind of project that goes out there. And with these things coming in, and you see the right hand side top graph that clearly in order to ensure that there is a rigor and the governance, there is a life cycle stage that's just defined across the organization to monitor under whose bucket what is lying and what stage the project is. Is it lying with Dell? Is it a combined? Is it closed? Is it effective enough? Everything gets solutionized at that life stage. And then finally, when the corrective actions are taken and preventive actions are put in place, it gets into the monitoring system you see on the left-hand side bottom. Those are the well-known graphs of control charts, which we go ahead and measure for every value stream defect to ensure that the defects are under control. So this is an example where end-to-end, along with the partner, we went ahead, because it's very difficult to enter into the partner network and see what's happening there. The visibility is there. But the trust that we build with our partners would enable us to do, and we can leverage that and work together with the partners to see such kind of benefit. And just the last slide, some of the benefits, right? Apologies, I don't have the numbers, but these are the improvements in terms of defects that we see. Cost of quality in terms percentage of revenue, significant. Remember, Dell went for a 3PL or an out mode 3 years back, and that's when this entire process started. Right? So you see this improvement, the defects in the improvement rate. And the blue tab indicates the benefits that our partners see, and the orange one, the Dell sees. Remember, it's a vested interest for both of us. Their processes are streamlined. We have an experience of supply chain. We have a expertise of managing certain processes. We share all of them. We have going ahead and we build this Lean Six Sigma. We use them. As a result, we go ahead and share those. Their processes become standardized. They become defect free. Now, what's the benefit for us? We get the cost saving. The less number of defects. Remember, the partners also have to bake in the defects in their system when they when they quote us a certain amount. When you work with that, you help the partner to go ahead and cut down the cost using your Lean Six Sigma. It actually gives you a cost benefit to your organization because you are able to negotiate better rates for your end customer. And the best part is that you are doing it at a customer experience level, keeping it high. It's going up and up and up. Because your defects are, it's your product that customers are taking. Your product that the partner is taking. So it's a win-win game for us. And definitely this is one example which we wanted to share where Dell has gone ahead and leveraged or used Six Sigma into the ecosystem to ensure the CLCA process is on board globally. Right. Thank you. Any questions?
So with this, our presentation is over, and we had 5 presentations in this session. Before I will conclude this, I take this opportunity to take questions from the audience. If there are a few questions, you are most welcome. Any question from the audience? So if there is no question, then I would like to just summarize this session. We started this session with little introduction from my side. I was little more generic, and I tried to throw a few questions to the panelists. And basically, my aim was to look at the issues related to our organizational growth trajectory, what need to be done, and make this effort very sustainable as far as Lean Six Sigma is concerned. And I'm very happy at this stage when I'm concluding this session that all our panel members, especially they represented the very best industries. Subhi from Genpact, Nina from Goodyear, Pratyay from Jyoti Laboratory, Nitin from Merck, and Santosh from Dell. Now they really gave their individual perspective, especially from their organizational point of view, that what they have done to make this effort of Lean Six Sigma a successful journey in their organization. Especially when Subhi talked about the Genpact experience, she talked about the people involvement and how this has helped in her organization to improve the bottom line. And then Nina really built it up a little further, and by addressing the back end and the front end related issues, and she very nicely deliberated upon the impact of this in her organization. And Pratyay has taken up this issue further for his company's product and tried to show towards the end that how it has resulted into a real success story. Very, very insightful one. Then Nitin's presentation basically was focusing on when he started on the operations management perspective and OPPR and how Six Sigma fits into it. He also talked about a very interesting and relatively new perspective. I teach operations management and related courses for a very, very long time, authored many books on that. But the type of framework that he presented is also a treat to watch for me. When he talked about how he integrates the visual management system, Gemba, etc., into one framework. Very, very nice presentation. And of course, he really touched upon the practice of Lean Six Sigma in his organization. And Santosh, towards the end, like the finalist, did the rest of the job. He took a very, very comprehensive perspective, gave a total picture as far as the supply chain aspect is concerned, how the partners need to be involved. Interestingly, many people missed a lot of glaring statistics in one of his slides where he talked about the cash cycle minus 36 days. Now, it's a dream come true. Now only Dell can do this. There are not many companies who can think of it. And in my knowledge, I do not know any other company which has achieved this type of success. But Dell has its own model. But interesting point that really struck my mind, that towards the end, in the last couple of slides also, he tried to project a point which possibly most of us again missed, that the journey does not end here. The types of improvement that they are looking at is really very, very ambitious, and I'm sure with the type of business model that they have, the type of focus that they have on the improvement, they will certainly achieve a lot of more successes. Now, basically, if you look at this session in a totality, it really presents the best practices in our country, 5 leading industries being represented by very, very senior people in those organizations. Now, they have given their own experience, and obviously, it has been very, very enlightening for all of us. We really appreciate, and the best way to thank all these people is to give them a big hand. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate all the insights that you have shared and the best practices in your organization. There is nothing better that we could have expected from this session. Thank you very much, and I also thank the audience for your interest and enthusiasm. Thank you very much. You are from the organization? Yeah, from the Can you just a little later? Just a
Okay, folks, we started the day with a good morning. Yeah, do you all remember that good morning? Yeah, so let's try that for the good evening. Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening. That's awesome. All right, okay. I was expecting a murmur at best. Yeah, so as part of the closing, I'm gonna spare everyone, okay, in doing a full-fledged recap. Yeah, because I think looking at all the faces around me is speaking a certain story. Yeah, so we'll let that pass. But I just close it with a word of thanks. Okay, so at the outset, I'm going to thank all the speakers and the panelists who came up for this on the dais and shared their views. So thank you to all of them. I hope as participants, it was a very, I would say, heavy day in terms of the amount of input that was given. Yeah. Personally, for me, I would say that even if I'm able to get one thing out, which I think, yes, I learned something, and that's something I can, take back with me. And if each of you feel that way, I feel, okay, that's a day well spent. Yeah. So thank you to all the speakers. I would like to say thank you to all of you. Okay, today for whatever reason, it was a marathon day, and the timing added to the complexity of it, right? So in that sense, I'd like to award you the Audience of the Year in India or globally award. Yeah, so so let's hear it for all of you. Okay, I'm sure it must have not been easy with, very few breaks, or probably almost, except for lunch, there was really nothing to go by. So yeah, it's great to see us, about 50, 60 of us still here. Okay, so that's awesome. And lastly, thank you to CII for organizing this event. Okay, so Ajay is not here, but Deepak is the man Friday and who's been involved heavily. Yeah. So on that note, thank you very much to all, and we hope to see you the next time we hold this event. Yeah. Thank you very much.